This is Top Shop Podcast.
Shop Podcast.
Top Shop Podcast.
Podcast for automotive service business owners by Paul Donahue.
Welcome to another Top Shop Podcast. We have a great guest, as always, Josh Parnell. I met Josh at several different events. He is quickly becoming the keynote speaker at some of the most influential trade shows in the industry. So, and that last keynote that you did at the Tools event was fantastic. So, and I understand you got the contract for Vision.
Not for Vision. First, Paul, thanks for allowing me to be here. Thanks for that warm introduction. There's a couple other events I'll be speaking at, the ASTA Expo in September.
Right, ASTA in this September, right. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, we got to get you in Vision.
Hey, I'd love that. That'd be great.
Yeah, we got to get you in Vision. But ASTA would be great. And that's what Vision usually looks at. They look at, where you've spoken before and then, so that'd be a great one. But limitless leadership. So limitless leadership is coaching and leadership training. And then the podcast, your podcast is really gaining some serious traction. So the Limitless Leadership Podcast. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and, how did you end up here?
Sure. Yeah. Well, again, Paul, thanks for allowing me to be here. My name is Josh Parnell with Limitless Leadership. I'm the CEO and founder of this company, and I'm a leadership coach, trainer, and speaker in the industry. And what got me here was actually cutting my teeth in the industry at Christian Brothers Automotive about a decade ago. So I was hired as a service development trainer and had the opportunity to eventually lead that department and grow that department from 2 people to 7 people and from 1 program to 6 programs. And what this means is I was working at the home office here in the Houston area, and we were serving thousands of Christian Brothers Automotive team members across 31 states and over 300 locations nationwide by creating and facilitating training programs for service managers, service advisors, and franchisees. And so absolutely loved what I did, loved the role there. However, I'm a faith-based person, Paul, and I felt like a couple years ago, a little over 2 years ago, God was calling me out of this incredible brand, and logically it didn't make sense. But I want to be better at obeying the call and recognizing that His plan is better than mine. And ultimately, I said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and let go. I'm going to let go and let God do His thing. And ultimately, this thought that came to mind back then was, hey, God, if you're calling me out, if you truly want me to do something, show me something, give me a sign, show me, and then I'll trust you. And really what He was saying was, no, Josh, trust me and I'll show you. And so I just decided to trust, and He showed, and overnight got some clients, and within a few months got more clients. And then by month 4 or 5, I had a full list of clients. And so this was a little over 2 years ago where I made this terrifying jump into the world of entrepreneurship. But fast forward, here we are now, and as you mentioned, I've had the opportunity and privilege to speak at a number of different events and conferences, and whether it be through a keynote or whether it be through training, I do limitless leadership training as well. What we do is we focus on the soft skills. Ultimately, it costs shop owners 6 to 9 months of a team member's salary to replace them. And we know that it's a shop owner's responsibility to grow and develop their leadership skills at their shop. What Limitless Leadership does is say, hey, we will allow us to give you the time and money by having us work with your team members. So most of our clients are not actually shop owners. They're actually the service managers or shop foremen who are formally leading people in a shop that a shop owner is hiring or is investing in and hiring us to work with. So we work with a lot of service managers, a lot of shop foremen, even advisors, people who are learning the soft skills and the importance of it as it relates to leadership. So when I'm talking about communication, I'm talking about delegation, time management, casting a clear vision, driving a mission towards a vision. But that's really what we do in the industry. We show up from a leadership soft skills standpoint. We don't get too much into the operational based topics, but we can. We have the background, we have the skill sets to do so. But there's a lot of great performance coaching companies out there that we actually encourage to go and partner with them in addition to us. So it's collaboration and not competition. But to put a bow on this, Paul, ultimately, we are collectively trying to make an impact in this industry. We're trying to change the industry for the better. And so we know that everything rises and falls on leadership, and we know that connection is what creates engagement, and engagement is what increases performance. If you want to increase performance, we know that sales are important. We know that KPIs are going to drive those sales. We know that it's important to coach and talk about KPIs. But what we also know is that 77% of employees are disengaged at work. And conversely speaking, 80% of people will tell you that they are fully engaged when they receive meaningful feedback at least once per week. What does it look like to connect with your team, to create engagement for your team, to subsequently increase performance that comes with it? And that's really what we do for the industry.
Yeah, I was on your website, just before the podcast. So tell me about communication, because that's one of your key, the 6 to 9 months, that's very expensive to replace somebody. And then I noticed that you have an intense focus on communication.
Yeah, communication is at the forefront of our coaching. And the reason being is because poor communication is actually costing shop owners 18% of total salaries being paid out on an annual basis, which means that if you're a shop owner and you're paying $1 million in salary across an annual basis to your team, poor communication could actually be creating sunk cost in the amount of $180,000-ish every single year. And when I say, Paul, over the last almost 2.5 years, I've been working with well over 100 clients. I think I've had probably 135 clients over the last couple of years. Every single one of them, at the root of their challenges in the shop, and to some degree even at home, it's communication or a lack thereof. And what we know is that when there's a breakdown in communication, voids tend to get created, and oftentimes negativity fills those voids. So when I say that poor communication is even creating 7.47 hours per week of lost time, which subsequently is a loss in revenue as well.
Sure.
That's a real number. 7.47 hours per week of lost time because we don't know how to effectively communicate. Because here's the thing, when you and I communicate, Paul, there's one conversation happening, but there's really multiple conversations for the one. It's the conversation I'm having, the conversation that you're having, the one that I think that we're having, and the one that you think that we're having. And that's why the greatest misconception about communication is the fact that it's actually happening. So what we do is we focus quite heavily on the 5 steps to effective communication. We get into the roadmap of delegation and how to lead one-on-ones effectively through communication, how to lead toolbox talks, or the impact of daily huddles, which plays a role in communication as well. And so when we can start showing up better, when the leader gets better, everyone gets better. But it starts with communication.
Well, that's a great answer. Thanks. Because I was going to ask how critical is effective communication in any business, and I think you pretty much answered that.
It's super critical. Ultimately, it's creating a lot of lost revenue, which is unfortunate because we are great team members in our store. We're high-performing team members in our store or our shop. And when we experience this level of poor communication, all it's doing is hindering our own growth and development as well as our teams. And so the better we can communicate, the more we can help improve communication across the shop, the entire shop feels it. And here's what's interesting about this, because we talk about the critical nature of communication or lack thereof. What Limitless Leadership does, we focus on soft skills, as I shared. But when I tell you that at least half of our clients regularly are reaching out saying, "Hey, weekly record this week," or "We set a record last month," or financially they're growing, and we're not even really talking too much about operational based things.
Right.
But if connection creates engagement and engagement increases performance, this is the result that I'm talking about. We see financial ROI. We see the tangible benefits from soft skills coaching because we're decreasing that number of 7.47 hours per lost time per week. We're decreasing that even if we cut it in half. Think about the productivity we can improve and the efficiency that we can have. And ultimately, more revenue comes when there's a better practice of communication in the shop.
Yeah, it's a law of indirect effort that says that anything that we seek directly eludes us. So the company that gets in business just for the sole purpose of making money never makes it. It's the company that gets in business to serve the customer better, or to, the law of indirect effort. That's that's popped into my mind as soon as you said that. So by focusing on the other things that are not operational, and finances, and getting the ARO up, and but focusing on the communication, delegation, and other, like you said, soft skills. Those soft skills produce hard revenues.
To your point, Paul, the same way that we serve our guest, if we focus on the relationship when it comes to the guest experience, I'm serving my guest, I'm taking care of my guest, I'm loving my guest, the transaction is a natural byproduct of exceptional standard setting service. It doesn't mean that we're not going to talk about sales and how we need to make a profit in order to stay in business, and we're not going to have a well-defined sales process. That's important. That's part of your SOPs. But if the focus can be on the relationship and not the transaction actually occurs as a byproduct.
Right. Excellent. Yeah, that's fantastic. So, so you took a leap of faith, due from a call, and I'm bet you're glad that you did it, right?
I am. Now, that being said, it hasn't been easy. But I think well, and here's the thing, like any time that you are doing something that's greater than yourself, this is definitely not if you knew me a decade ago, I would tell you I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be making an impact the way that this company is. But this is where, again, as a faith-based person, I've learned too many times over the years that my plan is not ever as good as his plan. And so when I finally stopped ignoring this feeling that he was stirring inside of me and said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and just do exactly what you're saying. I know it's not going to be easy. It's never going to be perfect, but I'm going to do exactly what you're calling me to do. And when I say, Paul, that again, overnight was able to get clients after I left Christian Brothers. And then since then have never really hurt for clients. And again, this has certainly been a blessing, but when I say it hasn't been easy, it doesn't mean that everything has been sunshine and rainbows either, because starting a business, trying to scale a business is challenging. And there's so many hats you're wearing as a solopreneur. But man, when I tell you that, it has been in the same vein, one of the greatest blessings of my life. That's really an understatement, because it's allowed us, my family and I, my wife and I have 4 kids. It's allowed us the freedom to have more time with each other, to spend that quality time with my kids who are not going to be this age again. And it's really been a quite a rewarding experience from a professional side of things too, because the amount of people who have shared with me, not only has this coaching affected them and improved them professionally, but even personally. I've had folks share with me that this has helped restore relationships in their family. It's helped save a marriage. This coaching extends beyond the workplace. And I know this because when you talk about soft skills like communication, we all know if you're in any kind of relationship, at home, at work, wherever, communication is often one of the challenges. And so the most rewarding pieces of feedback or compliments I can ever get is how this has affected their relationship with their spouse or their loved ones, their family. And that's something that you just can't put a price tag on.
Right. Because the same principles that you're teaching for the shop are the same principles that would be in the home.
That's it. 100%.
Can you describe Josh, can you describe a major setback? Because like you said, starting a business is tough. I went to a business seminar with Tony Robbins quite some years ago, and Keith Cunningham was there. He was the supposed Rich Dad in the Rich Dad Poor Dad series with Robert.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, and he said, don't ever start a business. He said, starting a business is like going to the airport and going to your gate, and then the gate agent says, okay, see all those parts on the tarmac? That's your plane. Here's the manual on how to put it together. Oh, by the way, when you're done, here's the manual on how to fly it. That's
well said.
Yeah. So he says you buy a business, and then you can go in and just get on the plane and steer the plane where you change the direction of the plane. So I didn't. I started a business, so I know. So can you describe a major setback or failure that you've encountered along the way and how you overcame it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, in terms of major, I don't know that I ever classify anything as major, because ultimately I've been able to redefine what failure means to me. And when I fail at something, it's just one step closer to getting it right. And if we're not failing, we're not learning. If we're not learning, we're not growing. And if we're going to grow through anything, we got to be willing to go through anything. So there's been a lot of decisions that I've made that have not been the best decisions. So implementing discernment is something that I've been working on and getting better at. But I think there's been a couple things that I can consider. As I started this business, I'm immediately wearing one hat, which is business owner. But then I'm also wearing marketing and sales and legal and finance and all these hats that I'm not really I'm not skilled in. It's like when a technician decides to open up their own shop. They're great at being a technician. They're great at being a high performing team member who can fix cars, but are they great with communication and working with people and leading people and managing their finances and figuring out all the business acumen that's needed to run a successful business? I've probably daily had mistakes and setbacks in relation to all these other hats that I'm trying to navigate. I think if anything, a setback that I encounter probably too often, and my wife will tell you this, is that I love what I do, which is a blessing, but which means I don't really consider work. I mean, entrepreneurship is like it's 4 a.m. mornings, it's 10 p.m. nights, and it's 24/7. But again, I have a family of, I got 4 kids. I got a wife and 4 kids who I love to death, and there have been too many times where I have not exercised that freedom that I alluded to earlier and said, you know what, it's time to shut it down. It's time to shut the laptop down and go spend time with my family today. And that's something that I've learned how to find balance in. I believe in a healthy work-life rhythm, not necessarily a balance, but a healthy work-life rhythm, because as a solopreneur, I'm always going to be busy. And sustainability is the one word that always drives me back to the office, where I'm like, man, things are well right now, but I could lose everything in a matter of a month. I mean, if all my clients decide to stop working with me, they could, because I don't do contracts. If someone said, "Hey, Josh, this is gonna be the last month we're working together," and everyone did it, well, then that's no income that I have coming in that I'm currently counting on and depending on. So, my long-winded answer, though, that I think, Paul, that when I think about setbacks or mistakes, I think managing my time has not been the best throughout the last 2 years. I've slowly gotten better at it, and I live and die by my calendar, and so that's been a help, being able to implement that calendar. There's been other decisions in terms of launching an online course, which is going great so far, but even making the time and taking the time, it hasn't gone as planned. It's been longer than I thought. It took a lot longer than I thought. There's been other folks who have reached out and they wanted to collaborate or wanted to partner together, and this is where I exercise discernment, and I've said yes to some and no to others, and ultimately it doesn't necessarily mean that it's always going to work out. But what I can tell you is that I've learned something along every single one of those wins and losses. I've learned something. So, it's probably not the best answer you're looking for. I really don't consider anything that I've done like a major setback or major failure. But if I could do it all over again, honestly, I wouldn't change much. I mean, because where I'm at now, I would not be here had it not been for the things that have occurred so far.
Yeah, you brought up, failure is the pathway to success. That came from 25 years of research by Napoleon Hill. So
Think and Grow Rich.
He's the first one that really put that on paper and said what was the common thread in the wealthy 500 of the wealthiest people of that age, because Andrew Carnegie gave an introduction to them, was that no matter what happened, they used that as a stepping stone. The reason that this challenge, this problem is in my life is for me to overcome it, because I need it to get to the next level. And that was when you mentioned that, that's the first thing that popped into my mind. So there really no failure. There's only this doesn't work. What do I need to do different?
Sure.
And same philosophy that Edison applied, because we wouldn't even have the incandescent light if he didn't follow Napoleon Hill's pathway to success.
Learning something new every day.
So that's why Edison just kept going forward, because there's a famous quote. I don't know what it was. A reporter of the day went to see him and said, Mr. Edison, why do you persist in this crazy idea of the incandescent light? Man was meant to light his way with the lamp, and you failed 5,000 times or 10,000, whatever it was, at this experiment. And he said, young man, you don't know how life works. I haven't failed 5,000 times. I found 5,000 ways it doesn't work.
Mm,
So
love that perspective.
yeah. So found 5,000 ways it doesn't work. So talking about work-life balance, are there any strategies for balancing work and personal life as a business owner that you can offer?
Yeah, absolutely. Time management is one of the
Because
what.
me and my wife were like, we look at other agency owners. We belong to a mastermind group of 200
Hmm.
agency owners, and we
Hmm.
look at these other agency owners, and they got 2 and 3 kids. They're growing their businesses while they have 2 and 3. And my wife and I just scratch our heads. How do you do that? So
Paul, I'll tell you, man, again, I'm married. We have 4 kids. We have this leadership company that we're trying to scale and grow, but we also own a beard products company. So we sell beard oils, beard balms, mustache waxes. So as if our lives weren't stressful enough, we decided to purchase another company, this beard oil company, about 7 months ago. So yeah, I get it. And I think that this is where in my own life, time management is one of the most, if not the most important things that I need to live by regularly. And so there's a number of different practices I can offer. One is just the Pomodoro technique, which if you're not familiar, the Pomodoro technique is when you literally just take a timer and you set the timer for 25 minutes. You limit all distractions. You put your phone away. You limit all distractions, and for 25 minutes you work diligently and intentionally on one specific task that you're looking to get completed. And then when the timer goes off, set that timer for an additional 5 minutes, and then take a walk, take a break. Don't get on your phone, but take a mental break for 5 minutes. And then you're going to repeat that process for 3 more times. So in the grand scheme of things, you're committing 2 hours of intentional time, and specifically 1 hour and 40 minutes of that goes towards the task that you're completing. And I guarantee you, there's so many things that we have in our lives that are important but not yet urgent, that if we took an hour and 40 minutes today, even if we just did it once a week, it would save you a lot of stress, anxiety, sleepless nights in the long run. And I'm going to back this up by a story. And this story, it's really a concept of there is, in fact, you heard this at the Tools Conference. So there is not a lot of places in the world where both cows and buffalo commingle. But there is one such place in the Rocky Mountains where you can find cows and buffalo grazing along the same pastures. And the way that these animals are, they're so much alike in a lot of ways, but they're distinctly different in one specific way, and that is how they respond to storms. And so in that part of the country, storms typically roll in from west to east. And the cows, they recognize when the storm is coming in. And so they know, hey, the storm's coming in from west to east. I'm going to try to outrun the storm. So they start running west to east. But what happens is they're not fast enough and the storm catches up with them. So what they're doing is they're maximizing the amount of time and pain and frustration of running along life's storm. Whereas the buffalo, the difference is they also recognize when the storm is coming in, but they know I'm not fast enough. And I'm going to I'm just going to run through the storm. I'm not going to try to outrun it. I'm going to run through the storm. So they go from west to east. They're running from west to east. And that means that they're running through the storm significantly quicker than the cows did. They're minimizing the amount of time, pain, and frustration because they know they're going to go through it, but they're also going to grow through it. And I think too many of us in our everyday life, we treat the obstacles, the challenges that we know are important. We know they're coming, but it's not yet urgent. So by the time it becomes important and urgent, we're stressing out because we didn't run through the storm earlier. We didn't just go through it and grow through it. And too many of us are maximizing the amount of time, pain, and frustration because we're not putting our phones down. We're not shutting the laptop down. We're not turning off the TV. We're not limiting distractions to take care of the important and urgent things. And in some cases, it's the important and not yet urgent things, but this is going to reduce procrastination. So the message here is be the buffalo, run through the storm, get it over with. And if you do this, like if we do this consistently, you're going to have a significantly more balanced daily life. So you're managing your time more efficiently through the Pomodoro technique and just the fact of reducing the amount of procrastination that we're typically so inclined to do.
I keep some post-it notes here, so I'm like, run through the storm.
Yeah, that's it. Be the buffalo, run through the storm.
And this reminds me of a book that I read that I need to reread myself, and that's Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
So, get up. What's the most important thing that you have to do, whether you want to do it or not? Focus on that, get it done, run through the storm. So there, I need to get that book back out.
Paul, it's a great book. So the whole concept of eat that frog, and he says it is, if you had to eat a live frog on any given day, you can rest assured that's going to be the worst part of your day.
Right.
So when you get up in the morning, eat that frog, like knock it out now. Get the important stuff out of the way right now. That way you can essentially breathe again for the rest of the day.
Sure. Speaking of books, can you recommend any books, resources, or anything that's had a significant impact on your professional growth besides the Bible?
Yeah. Thank you for that. So, I'd actually be remiss if I didn't mention. So if you're watching this episode, you'll see behind me there's a picture. It says "Leading a Legacy." So I wrote a book about a year and a half ago called "Leading a Legacy,"
Okay.
and it is a book on how to live today to make an impact for tomorrow. It's a leadership book, but in terms of what has directly had an impact on me, I always go to books like How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. These are my top 4 that I can think of off the top of my head, but Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink, Entre Leadership, there's Profit First, The E-Myth. I mean, there's so many great books out there. Here's my last one, and it's actually on my desk right now. The Coaching Habit by Michael Bungay Stanier. As a coach, I picked this book up about 5 years ago, and then I revisited this book about 2.5 years ago when I was jumping into entrepreneurship. And The Coaching Habit is a must read for any leader or any coach. He walks through 7 powerful questions that you can ask anyone that you're serving or leading or coaching. And I would say this is kind of like my coaching Bible, The Coaching Habit. It's a fantastic book for any reader.
It's called The Coaching Habit?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Yep. All right. Yeah. How to Win Friends. That's great. When there was a couple of that you had mentioned that I have not read, so I'd be very interested in getting the transcript and finding those books. So I try to remember How to Win Friends and Influence People. So I had someone some years ago tell me how to remember that book. You can win more friends in 5 minutes by showing genuine interest in other people than you can in 5 years by trying to get other people interested in you. So he gave me a synopsis of the book in that one or 2 sentences. So hard to remember. It's hard to remember everything and apply it, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And if you can truly show up for people, like in that book, what we learned from Dale Carnegie is that if there's one thing that anybody loves to talk about, it's themselves. And so the more you can ask questions about others, the more you can be inquisitive about others. So I had a client of mine a couple years ago, and he asked, "Hey, how can I be more interesting?" So first I'm thinking, wow, I'm flattered that you're asking me that question. But the encouragement, the feedback that I provided was, rather than focusing on being interesting, focus on being interested. Because if you're showing interest in others, you're naturally going to become interesting to that person, because people care about someone who's if someone's asking you questions about yourself, you're going to be happy to share. You know what I mean? Like it creates a genuine interest from you for that person when they're asking you about you. And so that's one way to show up, is just, hey, ask questions about this person, and then listen. Don't just hear, but listen to what they're sharing, and that's going to go a long way, because you're showing up differently than a lot of folks do these days.
Okay. Something that we've really focused on here at Advanced Digital Automotive Group is core values. So it's been quite challenging for us to really, nail it down to exactly what we can. What those core values should be. So what are the core values or the guiding principles, that you feel have contributed to your success so far?
Our core values are faith, fun, family, integrity, and kindness. And so when you know your core values, every single decision that is made, every single decision is rooted in those core values, which makes it easier to make decisions. Because if there's a decision that needs to be made that doesn't line up with any one of the core values, you have your answer. If you dismiss or don't listen to or don't heed the advice or heed that calling, if you will, regarding your core values, then what's the point of core values? I think core values are one of the most critical things that any organization needs, and quite frankly, even for families. So in the coaching that I do, I encourage my client to create core values for their families as well. And you're doing this with your family. Have a family mission statement. Being able to, and the mission statement and core values can be shared with the company. Like that's currently what our family and Limitless Leadership does. We do share the core values and the mission statement, which is to reach people and build leaders. But ultimately, I think core values needs to be at the root of every company, at the core of every company. The heart, core is Latin for heart. So at the core of every company, you have to have those core values, and every decision that you're making or not making is because of those core values.
Awesome. So yeah, we came up with GEAR. It's an acronym. So it's
Okay.
easy for my staff to remember. I was trying to get something that's more easy for them to remember. So we moved some things around, but the core principles are the same, but we just wanted to get it to where it was more memorable and easy for our staff members to remember. So anyway, any questions that I have not asked that I should ask?
Well, I'll ask you, what are the four core values? Because GEAR is the acronym, but what does each stand for?
GEAR, G is for growth, E is for excellence. So G is for growth. We stay inspired to grow personally and professionally, leveraging AI to drive progress for our company and our clients. The E is for excellence. We pursue excellence through discipline and transparency in our work, communication, and client relations. A is for alignment, one team, one mission, client success. When our clients win, we win. Then the R is for results. We own our outcomes, no excuses, just results that move our clients forward.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I got in there a lot of things that I wanted to get in there, which was inspired, discipline, transparency, and accountable in that GEAR. So that was last weekend. I really spent a lot of time, honing that in. So yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, and GEAR because we're in automotive, so it's very, very memorable for the
It makes sense. I think it's the way to go.
Yeah. So anyway, but there was one in here that you mentioned that a couple as faith and fun.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to work that in other ways, but fun is an important part. If we're not having fun, it is challenging to run a business, but if we're not having a good time doing it, then we're the law of attraction, we're pushing instead of pulling, so and that's something hard for me to remember a lot of times is I need to.
If we're not having fun, we're likely not engaged. And as I shared before, 77% of employees are disengaged at work. And so if we can create this level of engagement through this culture of faith and fun and family and integrity and kindness, like we have a culture. There's a culture here, and it's felt. It's not just something we talk about. We don't just have core values on the wall. We live it. We breathe it. It's something that, again, every decision is made based on the core values, and so you feel it. And I think when you can start exercising those core values, you're gonna just feel this difference in your company than others, and it keeps you engaged. Ultimately, when there is a lack of engagement, there's a lack of performance, there's a lack of results. And so if you're not achieving the results you want to achieve, how can you create this level of connection, which subsequently creates engagement and then increases the performance? So yeah, I think, again, Paul, I appreciate, the opportunity to be here. You asked a question earlier about, any other questions. I'll say this: if anyone is interested in learning more about Limitless Leadership, if you don't mind, I'd love to share how they can get in touch with me.
Sorry about that. I always say that. Hey, Limitless Leadership. So Josh Parnell, just go to the website. Everything is there. It is limitlessleadership.co. Limitlessleadership.co. So schedule a discovery call with them and just have a chat with them. That's always the best place to start, right?
Yep, agreed, 100%. Thank you.
And you've got the book a discovery call all over the site. So I will be seeing you in ASTA. So
awesome.
Right in September. So you'll be the keynote speaker there. That's awesome. So we'll be presenting another Gold Wrench Award there. So I'll remember to bring it with me this time.
Cool. Yeah. And I don't know that I'm the keynote speaker, but I am going to be doing an opening for the show. And I'm excited to be there. Come find me. I'll have a vendor booth. I'm also going to be on Podcast Row. So if you want to jump on a podcast, come find me. And yeah, my wife will be there as well. And my new hire, my new team member, Adam Faulkner. In fact, I just made this announcement yesterday, but just brought on another leadership coach to the team. He's an incredible guy with a lot of experience in the industry. And yeah, come find us. And looking forward to seeing everyone there.
Okay, are you speaking at the event?
I am speaking at the event, so I'm doing an opening.
Sign on and get into your class, correct?
I'm sorry?
People can sign up and get into your class.
Yes, yeah, I'm doing a 4-hour training event as well, and so yeah, come check out the training event. It's going to be all on the 3 pillars of leadership and communication and delegation, and all the stuff we coach and teach. But yeah, come sit in. It's a 4-hour session.
Okay, awesome. Josh, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Paul.
For additional automotive resources and exclusive content, follow us on Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all our episodes. Thanks again for joining us in the driver's seat, and we'll see you next time for another thrilling episode of Top Shot.